before you go, there are some just important essentials to keep in mind when you're talking about Hajj. Number one, obviously renew your intentions. But what does renew your intentions mean when it comes to Hajj? There are many stories that we have from our pious predecessors of people that actually went to Hajj and their Hajj was not accepted. Whereas there were other people that made the intention to go to Hajj and they were not able to, but Allah accepted their Hajj. Your intention is everything here. As one of the Salaf said, one of the pious predecessors said, how many bodies make tawaf around the Kaaba without hearts, while others have their hearts making tawaf around the Kaaba without bodies? So some people are there and they're doing tawaf, but their hearts are not there. Whereas some people are watching it on TV, they're following along the way. They really wanted to go to Hajj, but they were financially not capable of doing so. They were stopped by some other reason, but their hearts are there. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts their Hajj from them, even though they were not able to get there. So there are many different stories that we can take from and draw from that I frankly don't have time to go into right now. But realize the importance of really having this intention here. You also might be going to Hajj, but you don't make it to Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes your life before then. We're not guaranteed to live for another 2 weeks. So to have that sincerity, inshallah ta'ala, in that intention to actually make Hajj is the way that you assure yourself of the reward. Obviously, why you're doing Hajj, you tell yourself why you're doing Hajj from now. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. You're doing it for forgiveness. You're doing it to fulfill an obligation. Try to really get your sincerity down now, because if you don't have your sincerity with you, you're not going to be able to tolerate the difficulties of Hajj. And you could go there and spend all this money and spend all that time and come back absolutely empty-handed. I'll give you guys one story which is very, very powerful. Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah ta'ala, who used to go out to Hajj every other year. And in one particular year, he went out to Hajj and he saw this dream of his. And in this dream, he saw two angels discussing the situation of the Hujjaj that year. And one angel is saying to the other angel, subhanAllah, out of all of these people that have come to Hajj, not a single one of them was worthy of acceptance. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, he woke up and he was sweating, he was distressed by what he saw in his dream. And then he went, he prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he went back to sleep and he saw a dream, and the other angel responded and said, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave all of them and accepted all of their Hajj because of Ali ibn al-Mufiq from Ash-Sham. A man by the name of Ali ibn al-Mufiq from Ash-Sham. And he was actually from Damascus. So he woke up, and Abdullah Mubarak went to the people who came from Syria that year, and he said, is Ali ibn al-Mufiq amongst you? He didn't know who he was. They said, they said, Ali ibn al-Mufiq, you mean, the guy that repairs people's shoes? And he said, I don't know who he is. Tell me about him. So he said, Ali ibn al-Mufiq is someone that repairs shoes in Damascus, and he's been trying to save up money his entire life to go to Hajj. And so finally this year he saved up enough money, but when he went to bid farewell to his neighbors, he found them in poverty. So he gave his money to his neighbors, and then he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from him. And he was very distressed that he couldn't go out to Hajj that year, but he thought he did the right thing, that his neighbors were really in need of that money at that time. And he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept. SubhanAllah, and the sincerity of his question, or the sincerity of his request, that he wanted to be accepted by Allah, was so great that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted, obviously, his Hajj. And because of that acceptance, everyone got the benefit of that. So this man didn't even go, right? And this is just a story to remind ourselves of that, it's really about the degree, inshallah ta'ala, of which you want to be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So renew your intentions. This number 2 is meeting your friends and family and asking for forgiveness. You don't want to be held back, when it comes to your Hajj or anything, because you have a grudge with someone, or because you've hurt somebody or oppressed someone or transgressed against someone. This is the same message that we give before Ramadan, and Hajj is a far more rare ibadah than Ramadan is. You're not going to do Hajj as much as you're going to do Ramadan. But we know that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would see two people that are quarreling, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not look at their deeds until they reconcile amongst one another, until they make peace amongst themselves. So this is the time to really ask people for forgiveness. If you know that there's something between you and somebody else, some sort of transgression, you don't want to go to Hajj and then have that all held back from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you harmed someone and your ego prevented you from seeking forgiveness. So truly seek forgiveness from people, inshallah, before you go.